Welcome back to Chamber Matters. This is Val Hale, your host today, President and CEO of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm with my wonderful co-host,
Neil Smith. Thank you so much.
Neil is subbing for Donna today, and it's good to have him with us. And this segment is our Ask the Expert question, and we have with us from our staff, John Whittaker. John, it's good to have you. You need to get up there and speak right into that mic.
Need to eat the mic. Huh?
Yes.
Get in here, John.
You know, an expert, John, is an X is a has-been, and a spurt is a drip under pressure. So, someone once told me, so ask the expert. It's great to have you here. John, just by way of introduction, John has been around this area for years and years, putting on many of the events that you've been to and enjoyed and didn't realize that behind the scenes someone was putting everything together. John, tell us a little bit about some of the events that you've been involved with over the years in planning and putting on.
Boy, that's a great question. I actually got started with my father. He used to have a radio station back in Boise, Idaho, so it was a lot of fun. But I used to spend a lot of time there on the set.
You've got that deep radio voice.
I've got that deep. And then he actually was one of the first Ronald McDonalds, so I was able to travel around with him. And then he had a TV.
That was a full-time gig, being Ronald McDonald?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. Wow. That is amazing.
Well, meanwhile, he had his radio station as well. But anyway, so I had that opportunity. And then he had a TV show that he had a chimpanzee, and he was called Mr. Tim. So we had a chimpanzee living in our basement, which we considered our brother.
How old were you at this time when that?
I was about 5, 6.
So that monkey really was like your best friend.
Yeah, he actually bit my thumb right here. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So then we eventually moved here to Orem, and my dad was on a TV show called it was Hotel Balderdash.
Oh, I remember that. Who was your dad?
His name was Busso.
Busso?
Yeah, there was Harvey, Cannonball, and Busso. So it was a lot of fun.
I watched that growing up.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you're about, what, 68, 70 now? So that was, and then I got a job over the Exactware is what the building is called now, and that's where I got my start with the Osmond family. I used to go in there and sweep floors. And then they asked me to go out on tour with them, and so that's what I've been doing. I did that for about 12 years. But meanwhile, I was involved with the Stadium of Fire for about 25 years, Utah State Fair Director for about 4 years, Salt Lake Olympics opening and closing ceremonies, and Vancouver opening and closing ceremonies, and the Chamber, which is my favorite job of all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, after doing those Mickey Mouse projects like Olympic opening and closing ceremonies, you finally hit the big time with the Chamber.
Yeah, I came to the big time, and I'm excited. I have a great boss and a great Neil over there.
Well, in the Chamber, we do literally dozens, if not hundreds, of events during the year, and John is
safe to say hundreds.
John is going nonstop from one event to the other. This last 2 weeks, for example, we had this huge Taste of the Valley event on Saturday, and then we turned around on Wednesday and had our big executive summit at Sundance. And so what's it like to have so many balls in the air juggling all the time? How does that work?
Well, a lot of that goes back to a team. You always have to have a team that you work together. But, I've always laughed about this and told a lot of people about this, but a big event really is no different than a birthday party. And what I mean by that is you still have to put all the elements together to make it work. So, but again, the one thing I try to do and have is a positive attitude. You can really get fired up, and once you get fired up, it's not a good thing. So organization is good. Sometimes you miss a few things here and there, but just the end result is making sure that the people had a good time. And again, you're going to be more critical than most, so yourself.
So what advice do you have to the person who is at work one day and the boss comes in and says, hey, I'd like you to plan this event for us, and you're not necessarily an event planner, but you've been given this assignment. What's required to pull off a triumphant event or activity or party at the office?
Budget. You need to see how much money you can spend, and I know that sounds funny, but if your boss comes to you and he says you have $5,000, and you put on a $5,000 event. But there's a lot of fun things. Again, it's getting the people you work with involved. You kind of get an idea as to what the boss actually wants to do and kind of the outcome of it. But they're fun. And again, it's you have to have fun. I've always said that you have to make work your hobby. And so, you approach it that way. But also you have to get creative. You have to do some things that are kind of out of the box, and just have, like I said, have a good time with it.
Are there any websites or information sources out there to help people come up with ideas for parties or for events or activities that are not your typical parties?
Yeah, it's thechamber.org.
Shout out!
No,
right
there's a lot of places you can go. There's festivals.com. There's IAFE, which is International Association of Fairs and Expositions. And, again, I'm trying to think of some other ones that are out there. But a lot of mine has just come from experience and working around good people. I attribute my, I'm not going to say success, but the opportunities I have of just working with really great people that taught me along the way. And I'm always learning. It's the event industry is always changing. The technology is always changing. The ideas and concepts, creativity, they're all always different.
We had this last summer, we took over the ULCER Bike Ride, and you've never done a bike ride before.
Never have.
What type of a learning experience was that for you to put on a major bike ride, having never done one?
That's a good question. Again, it falls back into an event. You need the simple things from a trash can all the way to marketing the event. And you have to put all the elements together, and it's a huge puzzle. And you just slowly start putting that together. The one thing is you have a date that you have to complete it by. And so you work towards that date. You have multiple meetings. You surround yourself with good people. And you ask a lot of people that have experienced it in years past and learn the do's and don'ts. But that was a tough event, and the name ULCER is very appropriately named because I think we all got ulcers from it.
Yeah.
Now, John, when you came on, you were thrown right into the mix with the Pillar of the Valley. Like, you had to work with that from the get-go. Mm-hmm. I was always amazed, especially after I saw what you did with the Pillar of the Valley. I was very impressed. How do you develop the image and just create all these things at what you want to do when you don't even know much about it yourself?
That's a good question. I've always, and I don't know if this really answers the question, but when I do an event, there are 3 A's that I always look at, and it's affordable, attractive, and aware. So by aware, you have to market it and sell it. Attractive, you have to make an event that everyone wants to be at, and then affordable. So that really doesn't answer your question, but that's what you work towards to get there. And again, it's it's like baking a birthday cake or a cake. You have to put all the ingredients together and hoping that it all comes together at the end.
Would it be considered as easy as baking a birthday cake then? In that sense, where it's
absolutely not. But it's it's the process, and it's. If I were to put together, let's say hypothetically, we were to put together an event, we have to have a creative concept. What's the event all about, and what are we going to do? What are we going to try to achieve? And then you find a venue. It's really difficult to have an event if you don't have a venue. So a lot of people don't realize that. Hey, let's do an event. Well, where are we going to do it at? So again, it's those elements. But first of all, the very most important thing is get a creative concept, and number 2 is get a budget. Okay. And always remember the most important thing about an event is you need to be able to have the money and ability to market it. Because you can have a great event, but if you don't get the word out, sponsorships, which Val is very good at, you don't have the event.
We talk about planning events. Just to give people an idea, our Pillar of the Valley event is at the end of March, which is how far from here? 6
Boy,
months.
yeah, it's coming up. It'll be here
And
tomorrow.
yet today at noon, we have our first Pillar of the Valley committee meeting.
Right.
So we're starting today to start planning for our Pillar of the Valley event, which is our chamber's biggest event, where we honor a person or persons in our valley who have made a significant contribution. Last year it was Lavelle and Patty and Stephen Covey. This year we've chosen our recipients. We haven't made that public yet, but it will be, again, very high-profile individuals who are worthy of the recognition. But the event itself is an outstanding black tie optional event where we really pull out all the stops and make it fantastic. And here we are 6 months away, just getting started. We do the same thing with our golf tournament, which is in June. I mean, these are all events that require weeks, months in advance, starting preparing for them, and so we can pull them off successfully. Anything you want to say to that?
Well, the biggest problem that I see and have is that we pulled off a very good event last year with the Pillar of the Valley. Well, how are we going to make it better? What are we going to do to improve it? And that's the toughest part, because you want to step it up. And so again, with what Val is saying, we have that 6-month process, but we bring in a very, very good team, creative team, technical team, just a lot of elements that put it all together. But it's a great, great opportunity for us to, as Val said, we're going to honor some great people in our community, which we're very excited about. So.
Thanks, John. We'll be back in a moment with Scott Miller of Miller Wade to talk about our Policy Matters segment. We'll be right back.